Hey, welcome back everybody to my annual October ranking series. This year I'm counting down my 31 favorite horror movies from the 2010s. Yeah, this is the part in the series where I do tend to get a little loopy. I have spaced out my filming of this series more, but it's getting a bit repetitive, and I still tend to get a bit loopy as we get closer to the end of this, so I apologize for that. But anyway, we're almost in the top 5, so this movie here just missed the top 5, and it did hurt because I do love this movie, but I have to be honest. So in the number 6 spot we have The Witch, or The Vivitch, as people like to say.
What went we out into this wilderness to find? Leaving our country, kindred, our fathers' houses. For what? For the kingdom of God.
So, The Witch was directed by Robert Eggers, who, for me, is one of the most interesting modern-day film directors, because he likes to make historical movies and he likes to be as accurate towards the historical aspects of the film as humanly possible. And what I love is he makes the movies that he wants to make. I love that. He doesn't really care too much about, you know, doing things that are the mainstream, even though The Northman is probably his most mainstream movie that he's ever made. But still, I mean, he doesn't focus on mainstream cinema. He makes the movies he wants to make. And I will say, I've seen all of his movies, and every movie of his is at least interesting, even if I don't like it. Now, I've seen 4 of his movies, and I'm a fan of 3 of the movies that he made. Love The Witch, obviously, it's on my list. Loved his version of Nosferatu. Loved The Northman. I'm into, you know, Viking mythology and stuff like that, so obviously. And I liked The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse was an interesting experience. I don't regret watching that movie. I don't know. It's not a movie I would return to that often. I have been curious to give it another watch, but it's not a movie I would return to all the time. But I am glad I watched the movie, and I thought it was very interesting. So, yeah. But that's my thoughts. Robert Eggers' movies have... Robert Eggers has not yet directed a movie that I wasn't, at the very least, interested in. This, when it comes to my favorite Robert Eggers movie, at this point, it's a toss-up between The Witch and The Northman, because I love Viking stuff, and I love witch-related stuff. The Witch is a folk horror movie, and I'm fascinated by folklore. I'm fascinated in belief systems and stuff like that, of, you know, various different religions and cultures and what have you. And this is a fascinating movie, and very interesting, creepy, and just every time I watch it, it draws me in, and I just find myself, like, captivated by the whole film.
Boo! There you are. Boo!
Now, the interesting thing was that when I first saw the movie, I saw it in theaters, I wasn't as big a fan of it as I am now, because I had a hard time with the dialogue. I'll admit that full-heartedly. The dialogue in this movie, Robert Eggers tried to make it as close to how people actually talked back then, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem was there were also times where people mumbled, so it was hard to get what they were saying at that point. Now, the way people were talking was very realistic. I'm talking about inflections, because there are times where people mumble. There are times where just 2 people are talking to each other, and they're talking in a sort of, like, a quieter tone because it's just the 2 of them. They're not going to naturally project out to the audience when they're just having an actual conversation with each other. So the conversations felt very real, like how people would actually talk to each other, but I had a hard time with the dialogue because of the fact that there were times where people mumbled and they were speaking in this old-timey speak. So I had a hard time with it the first time I watched it. I knew I liked it, I just wasn't sure exactly how I felt, like to what level I liked it. It wasn't until it came out on Blu-ray that I watched it again, and I found myself actually loving it because I was able to like understand the dialogue a little more in my own home. I was able to put some subtitles on, which did help me, and I was able to control the volume, so there were times where I could actually hear what people were saying. And yeah, so even though I wasn't like head over heels in love with it after my theater experience, I still couldn't stop thinking of this movie, and when I sat down and rewatched it just on my own, I found myself loving it, and the more I watched it, the more I loved it, allowing it to get higher and higher on my list until it eventually came to the number 6 spot on this list.
Oh God, my Lord, I now begin. Oh, help me and don't leave my sin.
That's always something I find interesting. You know, like sometimes your theater experience can be different than your at-home experience, because there have been times where I have watched a movie in the theater and loved it, but then when I watched it later on my TV at home, or in other people's houses because I take care of dogs for a living, when I watch it on a regular TV, I don't enjoy it as much. And then there have been movies that I watched in theaters and I did not like them, but then I gave them another shot when I could watch them from home, and I found myself enjoying them even more. This is just a fantastic folk horror movie. The atmosphere in this movie is incredible. It has that, feeling of a folk horror movie. It has that atmosphere of this, a bunch of normal people dealing with this otherworldly phenomenon that, they don't understand, like this supernatural entity that's off in the woods, because that's how it worked back then. Everything in the woods was evil. If it was not part of your community, if it was in the woods, it was of the devil. Anya Taylor-Joy is the main character in this movie, and she is fantastic. This was my first movie of hers that I watched, and that's the case with many people. And yes, she has become one of my favorite actresses nowadays because she always picks very interesting roles.
It was a witch, Mercy. You speak aright.
Thomasin!
It was I.
Liar.
'Twas I what stole him. I be the witch of the wood.
Liar. Liar.
I am.
Listen not to her, Mercy!
And I love how the witch does things in this movie, because there is a witch in this movie, but the way it handles everything is like you only see like the witch like here and there in these very quick instances, but you feel the presence of something supernatural enveloping this farm and this house that these people live in. It's so well done. You have these two kids that are annoying, but in a good way. It's like they're having kids be annoying in movies can work and not work. Like, The Babadook is not on this list, and that's because the kid was too annoying for me and not annoying in an interesting way. These kids are annoying in an interesting way, so it's like you're okay hanging out with them, but you understand the frustrations of the main character when it involves these two little kids. And of course, you have Black Phillip the Goat. For those who have not seen this movie, I won't say too much, but Black Phillip is a great goat, and he adds so much to this movie. I don't want to say more than that. And it's not an overall gory movie. There are some gory elements to the film, but it's not an overall gory movie. You could call it a slow burn in many ways. It's like a period piece that becomes a horror movie. It's like, I mentioned this in an earlier spot, but like the best slow burns start off as some other kind of movie, and the horror is happening around the edges of the story, and then the horror slowly invades the story until we get to the third act when the horror takes over the story. That's what we have here with The Witch. It just, it's a period piece horror movie, and then the horror just keeps invading the story and invading the story and invading the story until we get to the end, and then it's a full-blown horror movie.
She decides of my blood!
She decides of my blood!
Sense of my body!
She decides of my blood! She decides of my blood!
She decides of my body!
And then, of course, we have the ending, which, of course, I'm not going to spoil here, but I love, when it comes to horror especially, like endings in general, but especially horror, I love a good final image. And The Witch has one of the best final images of horror movies from the 2010. I love this final sequence. So yeah, The Witch, a movie that I grew to love. I mean, it's, you know, like I said, like, I didn't fully like it when I saw it. Well, I liked it, but I didn't love it when I saw it in theaters, but I could not get this movie out of my mind. And repeat viewings helped me enjoy it even more. And this is another one that I understand this movie is not for everybody. I don't know if The Witch would make for a great movie night for Halloween, but it definitely makes for a good watch for Halloween. Witch movies are fantastic around this time of year, and The Witch is a great witch movie to watch during the Halloween season. So yeah, not sure if it would make for a good movie night, but definitely makes for a good watch. I think this is one of those movies that is best with either watching by yourself or with a small group of people, like one or two other people. And just like getting a dark room, and it's quiet, and you just get drawn into the atmosphere. So The Witch, a great witch movie for the Halloween season.